Can AI choose the next president of the United States? Yes and no. And this is why, and this is how. No, because by itself, AI, as we know it, as it's familiarized through our consumer experience right now, most of us think AI is ChatGPT or a conversation chatbot. A lot of those chatbots and conversation tools have become so sophisticated. So it can, if you ask it a question about which president should I choose, and most of you have already tried that already, it might give you some recommendations, but it won't give you an answer. Obviously, the developers of those chat conversation tools don't want any liability. When can AI help you pick the next president? Well, it's when AI or AI-like development and technology and software tools are used together to help you make an informed decision. The question really is, if AI told you to pick a different candidate than your gut, your feelings, your family, your social circle, or your social media feed told you to pick, would you listen? I'm going to take you through essentially the same steps that I would take as the CEO of PeopleWork, as what PeopleWork does for our customers, helping them consistently right size and build up their workforce amongst many other things when it comes to helping people get matched with the right job, with the right organization based on their attitude, attributes, and abilities. And I am going to use our most frequently used AI psychometric behavioral tools to do it. So before I get into what I created as a job profile for the kind of president that I'm looking for, I want to actually read to you the job description according to the White House from our Constitution as to what we should expect, what is the power and the authority of the President of the United States. Under Article 2 of the Constitution, the President is responsible for the execution and enforcement of the laws created by Congress, 15 executive departments, each led by an appointed member of the President's cabinet, carried out day-to-day administration of the federal government. They are joined in this by other executive agencies such as the CIA and the Environmental Protection Agency. The President also appoints the heads of more than 50 independent federal commissions, as well as judges, ambassadors, and other federal offices. The Executive Office of the President, or EOP, consists of the immediate staff of the President, along with entities such as the Office of Management and Budget. The way that you can really simplify this is the role and the function of the United States President in the sense of organizational structure is the same responsibility that a CEO has for their business or their enterprise. They cannot make decisions in silos. They do have some instances of a veto or approval power. They do have to conscientiously select who their other leaders are and how those leaders think and develop. They have to develop their organizational psychology, and they have to think about their customers as well as who is working for the organization. The president customer is the citizen, and the federal government, state, and municipalities are its operating entity. Well, let's back up just a second and see what our job profile that we would have designed says. Now, what I'm looking for in a president might be different than what you're looking for. I'm looking for the persona, the attitude, attributes, and abilities. I'm looking for their plan. I'm looking at what they are going to do about the people construct at the citizen level and at the organization level. Citizens are their customers, and the organization are people that work for the federal and state and city and municipality government. The ironic part here is that people are treating voting for the president any different than they would a candidate for any job, especially a CEO job. I'm also going to look at past performance. When I look at past performance, both candidates in this instance have had an opportunity to be in power, to have authoritative positions. And I want to see which one did what. They might say something now, they might do something now, they might do something different in the future, but I am also looking at past performance. These aren't new kids on the block. They've been around, they have some history, and I want to know what that is. When I'm looking at my attributes, I'm looking at somebody who has a high sense of accountability over somebody who has a higher sense of compassion. It doesn't mean that I'm looking for somebody with no compassion. It just means that in order to lead a country, you are going to have a balance between being able to make tough decisions for the benefit of the greater good versus being able to be overly compassionate and causing other unnecessary consequences. I'm looking for somebody who is communicative in their attributes, and as well as somebody who understands how to structure certain options that we have as U.S. citizens, and also within the organizations that they're going to run, which is the federal government. The work abilities that I'm looking for are those that understand how to work within each structure of the government and has a history of being able to do so. In their people plan, I'm looking for how they're going to structure or restructure their leaders, the Secretary of Labor, the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of Education. More importantly, I'm also going to look at the U.S. Government Accounting Office, which that's where the money sits. So I'm not necessarily looking at the way that I feel, my instincts, or my social circle is telling me. I'm looking at the science, the background, and the information that's available. Now let me introduce you to the two presidential candidates. Look at this screen and tell me who you think which profile is. You might notice that there really is no major distinction between these two profiles. Dominance on both sides, very close, very, very close. Dominance means they are going to be type A, take control people. The amount of influence, one is going to be a little softer in how they speak because they really enjoy it and have the ability to persuade people through their conversation style. They love to be very inclusive in their conversation. The other is more abrupt, and they really just want to say, hey, I'm going to cut to the chase here, and yes, I want to influence you, but my style about getting there is not exactly the same. Conscientiousness, well, both candidates are kind of the same, which is a good thing when you're looking at the candidates for the President of the United States. You want them to care, and both candidates genuinely care about the greater good, about the trajectory of the United States. Now, what they think the future is and how it's defined, TBD by each candidate. The steadiness is the ability for a human being to basically stay like this, no matter how much they get riled, or at least not to go like this and like this. Steadiness on one side of the profiles is a little bit more up and exactly down, and then another candidate is a little more like this. This is a very typical type of psychometric assessment. In fact, most business leaders, anybody who's ever done any hiring ever in the past long time, let's just say a long time, they have used a assessment tool or a psychobehavioral assessment to help understand candidates. But in the wrong context, those kind of tools can be useless or even dangerous in some sense. But if the thousands of people that are constantly creating new assessments, there has to be some sort of value. And PeopleWorks methodology is saying that we're going to take all of those sciences, bundle them all together, and see if they all can kind of come up with similar or maybe even exact recommendations about someone's attributes. Around our two candidates' character is their description of their ego, their narcissism, their ability to basically create and structure information and understand and make decisions, and what their decision-making style is. One of them is not very open. Like, I'm just going to tell you exactly what you asked me, and I'm going to talk around it because I just think there's some things I don't want to share with you. The other candidate is also not very open. There is like a 1 degree difference. How they communicate what they are not saying is kind of interesting between the two of them. It's also interesting to find out the conscientiousness. Both parties are like this. Again, so we have one psychometric tool that said the same thing, another that's saying the same thing, very close. They're good. Their intentions are good. They're modeling after what's right or what they think is right, or how to move things along for the benefit of all people, especially the United States citizens and the United States in general as a country. Extroversion. Now, you might be surprised that one of the candidates is really an introvert. The other one is super extrovert. Well, your guess about which is which might surprise you. You can put that in the chat. Which one is which in each of these scenarios? The other is the agreeableness. You have one that is like, no, I'm not going to just sit here and be overly agreeable with everything that you say. And then you have one that is more agreeable, but not by much. It's their style of communication that leaves you thinking, are you agreeing with me, or are you just letting me kind of go along my way? Neuroticism, the neuroticism is actually like 1 or 2 points off. So you're dealing with people who have a sense of like, I am awesome, I am right, which that confidence is like, you got to have that for the presidential role. There are so many things that we've learned from when I process our two candidates through our AI tools, but it is important to know that with AI and psychometric tools and the way that we can use information, it's only when it comes together that we can actually make a kind of a reasonable assessment. I will tell you that after I have done all of this work, I have to reevaluate who I thought I was going to vote for. So I hope that I have given you some information about how to think of who you would vote for president, AI's role in giving you information, and how you can decipher through the information that you read to get to the black and white, the nuts and bolts of what kind of president that you're looking for and where to source who they are, what they stand for, and exactly what the president's role is in our country.